Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 2491. Today, I'm talking with a guest who has come up with a new way to protect your wheels and tires from thieves. So be prepared to be inspired.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Well, I'm back on the other side of the country this week, just like last week. This time I'm in Somerville, Massachusetts, with a very special guest by the name of David Lichter. David, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have any gear, and are you ready to release the clutch?
I was born ready. Let's roll, Mark. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. We're going to have some fun. Now, I like to ask this question as a starter. What's one little thing that people may not know about you, David?
Thanks for asking, and thanks for having me on the show, Mark. So, today will be my introduction to your audience as a scientist and as an entrepreneur. But one thing that they may not know is I'm also a certified personal trainer. Fitness and nutrition and weightlifting has always been really important to me. And, I just like to do and live what I believe in. So just always had that as a side passion and hobby.
Well, I need to hire you. In this in this year, as I've told people, I'm practicing retirement and I've throttled back to one show a week. One of the things I've promised myself is to spend an hour or two every day taking care of myself physically. And it's so important. We talked about in our pre-show chat that these computers and these phones and these tablets have become the new cigarette of our generation, of just sitting there and being trapped and not moving. So my goal every day is to get up, and as soon as we're done today, get out, the sun's out, go for an hour-long walk, get those steps in and do all that. So that's wonderful. Well, we're going to talk about a product you developed, and we're going to talk a little bit about your career as well. So allow me to give you a proper introduction. David Lichter is the founder and owner of Lockhorns, whose locking system patent is the foundation of their first product to market: wheel locks that actually lock. Go figure. While standard wheel locks don't actually lock, the Lockhorns brand employs a double lock technology for enhanced layers of protection, including a personalized coded lock and key needed for the installation and removal. In 2009, David woke up to his new car on cinder blocks, wheels nearly stolen. After searching the market unsuccessfully for a higher quality wheel locking system, he finally decided to reinvent the wheel lock and created his brand to help millions of car owners protect themselves and their families. David's goal is to, quote, lock horns with thieves and provide a superior wheel theft deterrent for customers. We'll be back in just a moment, but first a word from our sponsors. So give them a little love. Sit tight. We'll be right back. Are you ready to take charge of your financial future? Then let me introduce you to Capitalize Your Finances. It's an online course designed to empower you with the knowledge and tools for mastering your money. This course will help you lay out the ins and outs of budgeting, the importance of emergency funds, investing strategies, and how to plan for a secure retirement. All this presented by financial planner Chris Paniotu. Chris has developed this course to help you effectively navigate your world of finance with confidence. Stop stressing about money and start taking control. Enroll in Capitalize Your Finance online course today and pave your way to financial success. To learn more, go to capitalizepodcast.com/courses, or better yet, go to the Cars Yeah website, show notes page for today's show, and click on the link under Capitalize Your Finances. You'll be glad you did. Do it today. For several years now, you've heard me talk about Linkage Magazine. I've been a subscriber since the start. Their talented and creative team brings you a spectacular publication and website that shares the automotive passion from a worldwide perspective. Linkage is about driving, restoring, collecting, and first-hand experience at collector car auctions and more. They bring you real-world values plus rational, experienced opinions on the current markets. They cover the automotive world and the people who share our passions. And Linkage Magazine has grown, mailing you 6 issues annually. Join me on this journey with Linkage. They're geared for the automotive life. You can subscribe at linkagemag.com. If you're listening to this program, there's a pretty good chance you believe what I believe, that the collector vehicles we love are more than just a means of getting from one place to the other. They're a part of our culture, our identity, and as a people, they bring us together at vintage races, classic car auctions, and 1,000-mile rallies. That's why I support the RPM Foundation, which exists to ensure that the critical skills necessary to preserve and restore these important vehicles aren't lost to time. RPM stands for Restoration, Preservation, and Mentorship, and their goal is to inspire the next generation of vehicle restoration professionals through its outreach programs. And they include Shop Hop, Off to the Races, the RPM Future Class, and many others. These programs engage talented young people across the country and connect them with mentors and a variety of opportunities in the industry. For more information on how the RPM Foundation is driving the future of collector vehicles skilled trade, visit rpm.foundation today. All right, David, we are back. So I want to go back in time a little bit before you came up with Lockhorns and just give a little bit of a setup of who you are, what you've been doing, because you work in the biotech industry, which I'm going, wait, biotech, protecting wheels. Okay, I think we got an entrepreneur on our hands that just can't keep his mind to stop from working. So tell us a little bit about, I guess we'll call your day job, but how then, I guess you caught some thieves in the process or whatever, however that happened, Lockhorns came along. But let's learn a little bit about you.
Mark, I think you diagnosed me perfectly.
Okay,
so
great.
I am a scientist by background. I've been in the drug development and medical device space for over 20 years now, and have always had a passion for science and for learning and for studying. And as I mentioned in the intro, I've always been into fitness, but I live my life with my eyes open. And if I see something that I think can be improved, I try to do it. And, despite being in the scientific space, this has been a fun side venture to try my hand at business, at inventing, at entrepreneurship. And it goes back to a tough time in 2009 when I bought my first car. I was in my late 20s, had just dropped a lot of money to buy a Honda, a nice 2009 Honda Accord, sleek black. Just a lot of sentimental value in that car, the coupe version, so the two-door. And within about 3 to 5 weeks of owning the car, I was parked on a side street here in Somerville, which is right outside Boston. And I got home on a Saturday night, about 2 a.m. My friend dropped me off and I went to sleep. About 2 hours later, early morning, 4 or 5 in the morning, the Somerville police were banging on my door and said, "Wake up, Somerville police. Are you the owner of a black Accord?" I said, "Yeah, as of like a couple of weeks ago. What's the problem?" He said, "Come with us. Thieves almost stole your wheels, but they didn't get away with it." And what happened was whoever must have been trying to steal the wheels must have seen the police doing their rounds. They were called on a domestic dispute, so they were in the area. The thieves must have dropped everything and left because my car was on cinder blocks, 2 wheels completely removed with all of the lug nuts and equipment just there in a side driveway on the sidewalk.
Wow.
And I was shell shocked, Mark. I've always had an interest in cars, but you have people on your program who know millions more than I did at the time. I was in my late 20s and it was just so furious and felt so violated by the experience. Again, I had just spent hard-earned, money that I've been out of college working for the last, 5 to 8 years, and to see my possession, almost stolen like that was a very, very invasive feeling. Thankfully, they didn't get away with it. It would have cost me thousands of dollars. And I was told to get wheel locks. We put the wheels back on and, go to the auto body store, get yourself a pair of wheel locks. So I did that the next day. I went to AutoZone, and this was my first exposure. I'd never heard of wheel locks before. And when I saw the product, I said, "Okay, where's the lock?" Right. And, my friend explained to me, he said, "Well, no, it's not, there isn't a lock on there. There's this fitting and you need the adapter and you put it on your torque wrench and so on." And I asked him a very important question. I said, "Well, couldn't the thief just buy what I'm buying and still steal my wheels?"
Yep.
And he said, well, yes, it's not perfect. It's a theft deterrent. It's not great, but it's a first line of defense that, ideally or hopefully the thief doesn't have this, and then they maybe move on to the next car down the street. That just didn't sound good to me. That didn't sound sufficient. I was asking myself, look, I have a Honda. I'm not driving something fancy. If I was targeted once,
they'll come back. They know where your car is, right?
If they really want my wheels, this is not going to stop them from taking them. So I was always upset about that. And I just thought the name wheel lock was a bit of a misnomer because it didn't have a lock on it. But, back then, Mark, I didn't have the time, the money, the drive to try to invent something. I was just upset with that solution and I moved on. Over, the next few years, I toyed around and the concept came back every now and then, along with other potential inventions in different spaces. And, you start watching Shark Tank and it fuels your fire a little bit more. And, finally during COVID, I had about 3 or 4 ideas that I'd come up with and written down on paper. And I said, you know what, this wheel lock idea, if I'm going to try anything, first off, if not now, then when? I'm at a stage in my life and my career where I can take a little bit more of a calculated risk. And if not me, then who? It will be someone else. So I want it to be me. I want to answer the question. I have a choice. I can either do this and try it and answer the question or not do it. And I chose to do it. And it's been a really fun, rewarding, gratifying side venture. I've just linked up with an amazing engineer and, the two of us partnered together. We were granted a utility patent on the concept and have now launched the company. And we're really excited to bring this solution to people and hopefully help and minimize the number of people who would go through the same trauma that I did with that attempted theft.
I love this story. You find a void in the market and you fill it and you do it. It's the beginning of most successful stories of inventing new products. And those of us who are listening to the show, we're all car enthusiasts, and there's nothing worse than feeling violated when somebody does something to your vehicle, steals something, damages it, takes the whole car. And these days, your timing is great too, sadly, because these days the police are underfunded. And the new idea, at least in many states, in fact, the state I live in here in Washington, pretty much if your car is stolen, you call the police, they say, can't do anything, call your insurance company. Sometimes they won't even bother to come out and do a report. And so you feel like, what do I do? I'm on my own. So let's talk about how you took the concept and with your lock horns, how exactly do they work different? Because most of us have tried wheel locks. I'm always going on the Porsche website, building my dream car, and part of their options list are wheel locks, but they're not like yours. They're kind of the old-fashioned kind. You have the little key, and I've always thought, well, doesn't somebody else who buys Porsche wheel locks have the same key? Maybe it's a different shape or something like that, but still, it doesn't seem to deter people very well. So walk us through what makes your brand, Lockhorns, and your wheel locks different.
So our design is a uniquely shaped lug nut with a hollow hexagon cavity. The cavity holds a lock that has a unique 4-digit combination on it that corresponds with a lock. To remove this unique lock, when you remove the lock, it enables an adapter and a torque wrench to either install the lug nut or to remove it. So only you with that key will be able to take in and out the lock. Then on top of that, we have a threaded cap, which goes on top of the lock just to keep it safe from debris or anything from the road, and a uniquely fitting cap key on top of that. Now, the cap is tight. I mean, it works. So it's, we have this nice cylindrical design. So, a torque wrench can't really grab onto it very well. And the cap tightens nicely itself. So you basically have this double lock technology, utility patented. And, we just believe this will hopefully be a better theft deterrent for people. It's a very simple concept, just putting a lock on a wheel lock.
No, I love it. It's very cool. And I know that in studying a little bit about what you're doing, your items are made from grade 8 and grade 9 steel, nickel, chrome caps. So how high level product. The other part of it, of course, is safely keeping that one locking lug nut on the car. I know we have 4 or 5 others depending on the car you're driving, but still you don't want it to come off. So it sounds like you've thought through all the elements here. And I know one of the things that you know about better than I is facts about wheel thefts these days. Are there some stats you can share with us? I think they're going to make us all sick.
Mark, you were alluding to it before, and the stats around it are pretty sobering and shocking. Unfortunately, with both wheel theft and more broadly auto theft, it's become incredibly common here, especially in the U.S. And what the National Insurance Crime Bureau is suggesting is that car theft in general happens in the U.S. about once every 32 seconds, which
wow,
just blew my mind to start with.
Oh, wow.
And, I mean, so that's car theft in general. But, when you think about car theft, well, it's actually easier for a car thief to just steal someone's wheels. It's a little bit less risky. And so wheel and tire theft is very frequent, especially around major cities. And the troubling part is that common cars like Hondas, Chevrolets, Fords are just as much a target as the luxury cars, the Lexuses, the Genesis, the BMWs. They're both targets because thieves see a very fast, easy crime, a low risk, high reward, where they can make out with thousands of dollars, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars in a single night, depending if they target a dealership where they can make out with hundreds of wheels, or just, the everyday average consumer like you or I, where they see, a new car, which they did with mine. It's not that I had fancy rims, they were just what came with the car, but they were new. And, those would have caught a big payday. So, unfortunately, it happens frequently. And, there's very little, it's almost an indefensible crime, where the standard wheel locking solutions were, probably a good deterrent, but, we wanted to step it up. And to really provide enhanced protection there. So we just hope that that'll be the case.
I think it's very cool and very much needed, sadly, in the times we live in right now. And you're right. I mean, you always think about wheel theft as, wheel theft, but tires, I mean, a nice set of tires for almost any car is at least $750. Or if you a high-end car, it's $1,200, $1,500 for the tires alone, not to mention the wheels. So we're talking about a huge thing. And if you, like, I have always had a high deductible on my insurance to keep my rates down. And touch wood, never had a car stolen, never had anything stolen off a car. But I've got a $2,000 deductible. So if somebody steals my wheels and tires, I got to write a check for at least that much, to pay for part of the loss. So I think your timing is very right. I'd like to ask guests about inspirations and mentors in your life. And those of us who are successful always surround ourselves with people who are helpful in many ways. Has there been somebody like that in your life?
There've been plenty, Mark. Definitely my parents are the first people that come to mind. And, neither chose careers that I've chose. My father's in law, my mother's a teacher. Both had this incredible work ethic. They were incredibly driven, goal-oriented, creating a good life for us, which now I, aim to do for my daughter. But I come from a family of doers where, we take action when there's a problem. We don't complain or sit around. Sure, that day when my car was almost ripped off, I was furious. And, this attitude of, wow, someone tried to take my property. That stayed with me, obviously, for years.
Created a product out of it.
You never know what's going to happen, Mark. And, my parents always encouraged me to, pursue science growing up. It was what I was interested in. I always had this drive to benefit humanity, to give back. And I've been so fortunate to do so in biotech, helping patients with the medicines we're working on. I've always done a lot of community service on the science education front. But now, to continue that spirit with a product like this, to help people in a completely different way and to hopefully help reduce theft. You mentioned the cost, and I just want to make a comment on that. When I bought this car, and, when everyday consumers buy their cars, the state of the economy these days, it's not great. And, the average consumer doesn't have thousands of dollars laying around, especially after making a big purchase like a car, to then turn around and say, well, here's another $5,000 to $7,000 just to be able to drive it. They're not thinking about that. And that can be a really devastating feeling for people. And the more stories that you read about this, the thousands of victims of this, even car dealerships, to help reduce that and just give people a little bit more peace of mind. This has become a real passion, and, just helping people on all different fronts and just trying to make the situation better.
Coming up with products and bringing them to market is challenging. I worked for 20 plus years at a company where that's what we did. We searched the world, found products, we branded them and brought them to market. Many times we found manufacturers of products and we had them make them to our specifications. So I know how hard this is, and I want you to talk a little bit about the challenges you face bringing this product to market, because a lot of people go, I have no idea how to do this. It's too hard. Well, nowadays, I wish I had the internet back in the old days. When I was doing this, it would have been much easier. What was the biggest challenge you faced in bringing this product to market?
Mark, I think as a scientist, we're trained to follow a protocol.
Oh,
If
yeah.
I back in the day when I was in the lab, and you go into the lab with a set of instructions, and here, okay, if I go and follow these 10 steps, my experiment will work okay. For entrepreneurship and inventing, there is not a set protocol.
No,
So
no, there's a lot of books, but most of them don't pertain to your specific
a
situation.
lot of kinks in the road. And, for me, it was really exercising a very different part of my brain to try to bring this to life. But one thing as a scientist that we are trained at is if you don't have the answer, to go ask someone and to go ask good questions. Who are my subject matter experts on this? So I started poking around and talking to various people who were either good at inventing products, bringing a product to markets, or just product development, talking with an engineer, again, who helped me really come up with the right design that could incorporate this double lock technology that we're so excited about. But then things to the creative aspect around website design and branding, naming the company, starting the LLC. I mean, I started making lists, Mark, and, you make lists, you check off, the different things on it. And, you just, again, you start down a road, and each step and each check off that list, you get a little bit more excited. Wait, I'm getting closer. And you know what? I think this might have a chance. And you just start putting that, you got to take that first step. And I think that's always the hardest one. But then you build up a little bit more courage as you go down that road. And, again, now we're just so excited about this idea.
One thing I'll mention here that listeners of this show have heard me say before, SEMA, which is an incredible resource website. And of course, most of us think of SEMA as the SEMA show, which is every October usually is when it happens in Las Vegas. Huge aftermarket automotive show. That is a great resource. They have so many resources. If somebody listening out there has a great idea, wants to bring it to market. Have you leaned on SEMA, or do you have plans on going to SEMA with your product this fall?
So I have not leaned on them, but I have thought about that Congress, Mark, and that is definitely something that could be an option for us in the future. What I will mention along the same veins is an organization called SCORE. And SCORE is a set of, business mentors that provide free mentorship advice to folks who do have an idea. And I've utilized them. I heard about it from a friend. And again, just having someone to bounce ideas off of and tell me, hey, am I crazy about this, or is this a good idea? How do I pursue this? What should I do? It's nice to have that expertise if you're not used to that. And that's been a really nice resource for me.
I'm glad you brought up SCORE, another great one as well. So it's very worthwhile. I think I've been to like 30 plus SEMA shows now. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But your product is perfect for SEMA because it exposes you not only to end consumers, but more importantly, are sellers, if you will, of where you sell this product. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's talk a little bit about cars. You mentioned your beloved first new car, the Honda, and what happened to it. At this point in your life, is there a special car in your life that stands out, or is it that car? And sadly, the experience you had, but look where it brought you. Kind of cool.
Mark, sadly or happily, I'm going to double down on my 2009 Accord. I still drive it. So nice. the car that motivated this invention is still what I drive. It's a fun story behind it, and it's interesting what that car symbolized to me at that time back in 2009. It was the first car I bought with my own money, and I bought it right after I was going through a breakup, relationship breakup, and to me that coupe, that two-seater, it symbolized independence, that it was me, myself, and I bought it, by myself, and it had, just a lot of sentimental value. And frankly, I haven't seen anything that I like even better than it. That was sure, there are a lot of nice, sports cars out there, a lot of cool trucks that I've thought about, but I'm a father of a young daughter, and, to have something practical, but also kind of sporty and cool. Also, it's my 2009 Accord Coupe.
No, I love it. Honda's done a tremendous job with that name, that particular car. You think of the Accord going all the way back to the beginning of the Accord and how it's evolved. And looking at their designs, and I was just down in Southern California for an automotive event, and I pulled up behind one, and the person, like I always do, took all the name plates off the car. So you could tell, I like the clean look of that. And I pulled up and I went, what is that? It's the same with like the Kia brand. The design elements of what they're doing, they're very different, very unique, very new. But you add that to the reliability and longevity of Honda cars. They're like Toyotas. They just keep going and going and going. So yeah, it's a great option.
That was exactly the thought process behind it, Mark. When I selected it, it was practical and reliable, something I knew I would have for a long time, but also sleek and sporty. And, so I bought the black one. It's got the nice silver chrome, handlebars and trim. It's just a well-built vehicle.
Oh, you're one of those brave people who drives a black car.
That's true.
I don't think I could do it. It's just, it looks good until you drive it down the street and then the dust.
Well, and here in New England, these New England winters, it doesn't do me any favors, but,
even harder. Well, that's where the ceramic coatings are a good thing to have on vehicles these days. Makes the cleaning a lot easier. So I play car psychologist. As you know, you're a listener here on Cars Yeah. I crawl into your head a little bit. So this will be interesting. If you were reincarnated, pun intended, or manifest as a vehicle, not what you want to be though. This is how you perceive yourself, the man in the mirror, as a vehicle. What would you be and why?
I definitely still perceive myself as that black.
Back to the Honda.
Accord coupe.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to triple down. And the reason why, I do consider myself, look, I'm a scientist at heart. So, I am pretty practical and dependable, loyal to, every aspect of my life. But, I do think there's a sleek, sporty attitude about me, and I think that kind of drove me to invent this product and to kind of get it out there to everyone. I kind of see myself in, fitting a few different roles in my life. And, the Accord sort of just balled it all into one for me, some style, some cool, maybe some getting the job done aspect to it.
Makes sense to me. Well, and with that long black Fabio hair of yours, I just see your head out the window, hair flowing in the air. Yeah. See, I'm just jealous because you've got all that.
Maybe that would make my ride better if the top went down instead of just having a sunroof. Then I could let it flow a little more freely.
There you go. I love it. Also, I've found that people who are successful in life have found ways to give back and help others. And to me, learning more about you today, David, your career in biotech, learning how to help people on the health side, being a trainer, and now creating a tool that helps people prevent their vehicle from being stolen or parts from their vehicle being stolen. Is that how you perceive yourself as someone who gives back and helps others?
100%. It's one of the biggest joys and one of the biggest privileges that I've had in my career. So in my 20 years on the biotech side, I've really always volunteered a portion of my time towards scientific education. This includes creating student programs to help develop the next generation of scientists. I recently created a program partnering up and mentoring students at the high school level for underserved or underrepresented students. We do scientific job fairs and science festivals all over the Boston area. And, now I see opportunities with this as well, just to help touch lives and, give back to in some degree or in some capacity.
Fantastic. How about a great book? Is there one you'd like to share with our listeners today?
Yeah, I try to do a lot of reading despite having a busy schedule. It really ranges from fitness to science to, even history. I've read a lot on, World War II, the civil rights movement. But the one that I think maybe would stand out to your listeners is actually a philosophy book that I recently read. And it's called The Stoic Challenge, A Philosopher's Guide to Becoming Tougher, Calmer, and More Resilient by William Irvine. And just this theme or this philosophy of stoicism is, to what you were talking about earlier in our chat, Mark, everyone faces challenges. It's not a matter of if you will face challenges in your life. It's just a matter of when. But the challenges aren't what define us. We're not defined by our challenges. It's really the way we respond to them. And, what this book just kind of talks its way through is, again, not the if, but when you face a challenge, how will you define it? How will you handle it? And how will you look at yourself in the mirror and stand by, your personality, your integrity, and march your way through with your head up? And this book really spoke to me, and I highly recommend it.
I'm glad you recommended that. It's so funny. I've really, the last few years, gotten more into Stoicism. There's a podcast that they talk about that, Marcus Aurelius, and how that works. I believe there's a website called The Decision Lab that's about Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism. And I just saw a little blurb of Jerry Seinfeld, who's a fellow car enthusiast. And of course, he has a new movie out right now about Pop-Tarts of all things, I believe it is. Interesting. I haven't seen the film yet, but I think it just came out. But he has really gotten into Stoicism and understanding it as well. And I found a company that makes these wonderful little coins that have Stoic ideology on them and different things that you just carry them in your pocket as a reminder. I've even thought about buying a bunch of them, and as I meet people and we talk about more intellectual things, giving a coin away. I thought it was kind of a cool idea. So I believe the website's EDC Stoic Coins, kind of a cool thing. Makes for a neat gift. I'm glad you recommended that book. I'm going to get my hands on that because that has not been recommended here before. And given I have a place on my website called Guest Recommended Books with over 3,000 books listed by my inspiring automotive enthusiasts, that's a new one. So thanks for bringing a new book.
Mark, they mentioned Marcus Aurelius in that book, and I'm a huge Seinfeld fan, so I'll have to see what Jerry has to say about it. And I like your idea about the coins.
Yeah, for some reason, and I wish it was one of these things you scroll past and you see. And he was talking about how he's really gotten into it, and the reason for it is, of course, he's always thinking of how to tie it into humor and to people and how people think about things. And of course, Stoicism is a great thing just in and of itself as you learn more about it and how it can improve your life and the life of people around you. So fantastic. So before you go today, I'm going to enable you to go on what I call the ultimate drive. This is a bit of a fantasy drive. I'm going to provide you with any vehicle in the world. Don't worry about the cost. I'm going to foot the bill here. And you can take the car anywhere on a cool drive around the planet. But here's the key thing too. You can take anybody with you, including Marcus Aurelius. If you'd like to go on a ride with him, that would be pretty cool to put him in an interesting car and go for a ride and talk philosophy. So what does the ultimate drive look like for you?
So this is one I'm not going to pick my Accord. I promise on that one. Okay. This one I'm going to go with my favorite sports car. Okay. And it's something that, it's just one of the newer Corvettes. And, I talk a ton about cars to my young 8-year-old daughter. Her name is Maya. And, we walk around town, and every time we spot either the new Corvette or a Camaro or, she knows them all now by by symbols. I mean, we even ran a little scientific experiment, Mark, where we took an inventory of all the cars in the area. We went around with a little checkbox, a checkboard, and, we made predictions and, based on our area, saw which would come up the most. And we just did a simple tally.
Nice.
But, I would have to, of course I would take her. She would be in the passenger seat. We'd be in a nice new Corvette, top down, and, really just cruising down either the Pacific Coast Highway, Route 1 in California, or I'm from New York City originally, so maybe we'd just be cruising through the city. Who knows? But we're going to make that happen one day. It's just a matter of time.
I'll tell you something, David. You got to do that. Make time for it. When my son was 8, I bought a little Beck Spider, which is a car originally built by Chuck Beck, designed to mimic the 550 Spider, the car that James Dean famously raced and unfortunately died in. But we flew down to John Wilhoit, who's been a guest on the show. He built this car using all Porsche parts, actually, and we spent 5 days driving it back up the coast. The car has no top, no heater, no radio. It was we called it, instead of the Amelia, it was the green Amelia. And we took and I tell you, he still talks about that today. He's 30 today, but those are things to do with your kids when they're young and they want to spend time with you before they become teenagers.
That's a beautiful story, though.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
So definitely do that. And I'll tell you, a follower of mine sent me a picture of a new Corvette that was a beautiful green color. I think he said it was called cacti. And I'd never seen a Corvette this color, but having just come back from the La Jolla Concours and a Luftgekühlt event in Southern California, I sure saw a lot of the new Corvettes down there for sure. And every time I see one, I think it's a Ferrari at first. It's like, wait, oh, that's a Corvette. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they've definitely done a great job with that new car, and I don't think they can make enough of them. From what I've heard, they just sound like hotcakes. So sounds like fun. Maybe you can, instead of blowing a whole bunch of dough on that, go rent one and drive it for a week.
That's what I'm thinking, Mark.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. David, you've taken us on a wonderful adventure today, and thank you for coming up with Lockhorns to help all of us protect our valuable wheels and tires. Nothing worse than coming out in the morning, go to work, and your car's on cinder blocks. That's just got to be the most devastating feeling I've ever heard. Could you leave us with some parting words of wisdom or inspiration?
Yeah, thanks for that opportunity. And it's just such a privilege to be on your show.
Well, thank you.
I've been so, fortunate in my career to be able to do something I love, working in science and medicine development and creating this company. It was a, well-calculated risk, but it took time, effort, guts. And, I would just encourage, anyone else out there who is, the automotive space is such an innovative, creative group of people. I mean, you know this better than anybody. And I really just kind of asked myself, I've always tried to live by the motto carpe diem. And, you told me some movie references. And I mean, it goes back to Dead Poets Society back in the day and hearing Robin Williams yell this a few times and, just decided to really try it, to seize the day and give it a chance. And, obviously it's hard work. It takes perseverance, but doing anything in life that's hard is worthwhile. It's gratifying. And, again, encourage those to take an idea and run with it if you can, and to create, to innovate. And I'd love if folks are interested in learning more to please visit us at lockhornsusa.com. Please connect with us on Facebook, Instagram. We would be so happy to have you as part of our Lockhorns family. We're building our network and bringing this out to the world now, and really, really excited to do it, Mark. I mean, we started with one size. We launched with the M12 by 1.5, so we're able to fit Hondas, Chevys, Mazdas, Lexus, a few others. And now we have 4 other cone sizes in development: the M12 by 1.25, the M14 by 1.5, M14 by 2, half by 20. And then our next round of development, we're going to do the lug bolts. We're going to do the mag seats for the Toyotas. So, we really want to be a full one-stop shop and provide this for any vehicles out there.
Absolutely. I love the whole concept. We'll put links to everything on David's show notes page, which you can find on the Cars Yeah website, but it's easy to find, lockhornsusa.com. And I'll put a little twist on the Carpe Diem, thanks to a past guest and friend of mine, artist Dwight T. Knowlton. Carpe Diem, seize the road. So there you go.
Love it.
He's a cool guy. David, thank you for being so generous today with your time and expertise, and for inventing a product that'll help all of us automotive enthusiasts protect our rides. Until you and I talk again, I'll see you down the road.
Thank you so much, Mark. It's been a privilege, and maybe I'll see you at SEMA. I would definitely do something like that.
That would be fun. Hey, guess what? Some of you regular listeners will remember back in 2019, I created 10, 11 shows called Cars Yeah TV, where I went to some fabulous locations of past Cars Yeah guests, and we did a TV show about it. Well, they're up on the Cars Yeah YouTube channel. So go check it out at YouTube. Just type in Cars Yeah, and the shows will be there for you to enjoy. I hope you have fun watching.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.